Hello there. Number one lies they tell us about prayers is you must shout for God to hear you, which is biblically lie, and it is not having any root to place in the scriptures. Meanwhile, in talking about loudness in prayer is not effectiveness of prayer. Loudness in prayer doesn't mean effectiveness. Loudness in prayer doesn't mean that it is when you shout that God hears you. Loudness in prayer primarily does not mean that God is afar off and you needed to shout for him to hear you. It doesn't have basis in the scripture. It doesn't have stand and proof that until you shout before God hears you per se. Meanwhile, we have to understand the truth about prayer when it has to do with vocality. That is your loudness or your silence. We see people that prayed silently in the scripture. Men like King Hezekiah, he prayed silently in the scripture. Nehemiah prayed silently in the scripture. Even Anna prayed silently in the scripture. There are periods that Jesus prayed silently in the scripture. So also we also have places where they shouted in prayer. We see places whereby the disciples in the book of Acts chapter 4, they lifted up their voice to pray. Now, the man called Bartimaeus the blind, when he was praying to Jesus, asking Jesus for help, he needed to shout on the loudness of his voice. So also we see places whereby Jesus also shouted in prayer when he was saying, take this cup, roll this cup away from me. When he was praying in the Garden of Gethsemane, and also when he was calling Lazarus out, he shouted in that. Now, when we look at that, what necessarily is needed in prayer? There are four basic things that are needed in prayer, not necessarily about loudness, because God is not deaf. Number one, what is needed in prayer is faith. The Bible says, without faith, it is impossible to seek him. He that seeketh him must believe that he is, and he is the rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Number two is, aside faith, number two is persistence. Luke chapter 18 verse 1, Jesus says, he said, men ought always to pray and not to faint. So we have persistence. Number three is alignment to his will. You know, 1 John chapter 5 begin to talk that if we pray according to his will. So your prayer must be in accordance to his will. And lastly is your sincerity. The mindset behind that prayer means a lot. The mindset behind the prayer means a lot. So those are the four basic things that tells how effective your prayer can be. Maybe God is to listen to you, or your prayer will not even be effective. Meanwhile, there are places where you shout, and there are places where there are instances where you need to keep silent and pray silent prayer. Like example of places and situations where you need to pray silent prayer is when you want to have bonding with God. When it has to do with relationship per se, that is number one. Number two, when you want to pray a kind of emotional prayer where you need to pour out your heart to God, you can pray it silently. Number three, when you are in a sensitive area or a public environment and you still want to talk to God, you can pray a silent prayer with God. Number four, if you want to do more of listening and less of talking, you can pray a silent prayer. And where are the situations where you need to pray more and shout? By shouting. Number one, by maybe possibly when you are addressing some situations. You know, situations are being powered by demons and demonic spirit. So if you want to address situations, just like when Jesus wanted to raise Lazarus from the dead, he needed to shout, Lazarus, come forth. So over situations, when you want to exercise authority over situations, you needed to shout. When you want to put the thoughts of your heart under subjection, you needed to shout to pray. When you are in a corporate gathering, a corporate prayer, you needed to shout in engagement of prayer. And also when you want to express the intensity of the groanings of your soul, you needed to shout. So basically, those are the few situations that you needed to shout, and also to be silent in prayer. So whether you pray silently or you pray aloud, it still doesn't matter that God cannot hear you. He hears either you shout or you do not shout. So shouting per se is not an equivalent report that God hears you. Thank you.